Dan, this time as opposed to Zanesville, you're actually in your hometown area here in Chillicothe. How far away are you? You're right up the road, aren't you?
Maybe 4 or 5 miles, something like that. Just at the edge of the county, actually.
Right on. How do you feel in front of the hometown crowd out here?
Well, we ran here about 6 weeks ago at the county fair, and had a pretty good event there. And so we broke a transmission in freestyle, kind of made our night short there. So we told everybody to come back this weekend. We'll make up for it. So we'll see. But you still have that hometown omen that you got to deal with all the time. So I wouldn't be shocked if we red light, run out of bounds or pop in. You never know. So. But we got a big weekend planned. We've got 2 chassis going out of the shop this weekend, so we're swamped. So actually, we're taking a break from the shop to come race.
So the next qualifying round will feature that man, Kelvin Raymer at Natural High. He's had a really good season here in 2006. Dan Patrick and Samson has been awfully fast. Raymer more of a freestyler, Samson usually quick. Let's see if that holds true to form here tonight. It does. Samson is just blistering through the course. His time is pretty good. It's a 5.814. Kelvin Raymer unable to keep it going straight, does not pass through the timing lights. He is disqualified. Right there, we'll have to see if Swanson was saving the truck or broke. We'll see if we can get a report from the pits. Here's Kelvin Raymer now and Dan Patrick. They switch lanes, take another pass, looking for top qualifying here. Dan Patrick has been awfully fast. Kelvin Raymer, a lot of wheelies, but usually not a lot of straight line speed. Same thing here tonight, but a lot of distance made up in the air there for Raymer. 6.473 for Samson. Natural High 6.806. And Monster Moose just beat Natural. Not sure if I agree with that scoring decision, but the show must go on. Here's Kelvin Raymer in Natural High. He will do battle with Dan Patrick and Samson. Samson very, very fast all season long. Kelvin Raymer again set up more for the sky wheelies and the slap wheelies. Dan Patrick, it's a runaway for Samson. He's across the line. We'll have to wait for Natural High in freestyle and obstacle course racing. Dan Patrick, 5.826. A nice run there for Patrick. Got a lot of horsepower under that engine. Great reaction time as the smoke flies. Rain has lightened up here in Chillicothe, Ohio a little bit. That may have helped him with traction. Good response time for Patrick there of 0.231. You see him get a little squirrely there when he applied the brakes. Maybe it's a little more slippery than I thought. Let's look at it from inside the cab of that truck. Whoop, whoop. You see he's sliding around a little bit there. Interesting camera position here from underneath. You see the punishment those shocks take here in Monsters of Destruction competition. We'll be back with Raymer. I think you can kind of call this one in Braille if history is an indicator. Dan Patrick will be in the final unless he breaks. Kelvin Raymer just not set up for speed, but let's see. Could be the Cinderella story for Kelvin. Doesn't look like it. Dan Patrick, he will advance as expected, setting up your final. A great run for Dan Patrick and Samson. 5.891, Natural High respectable at 6.573, but not fast enough. Take a look at the replay. Pretty even reaction times. Both trucks got off the line extremely well. Dan Patrick just too much horsepower. Look, you can see there 3.1 versus 3.8 on the reaction time. Kelvin just set up the freestyle. He did have one of the highlight moments of the year when he did a donut no-handed earlier in MOD action. I really like that. Made a big deal of it, and all the drivers have come up to me and said, so what, I can do that. They've been kind of trying to show me up ever since, but I like Kelvin a lot, but he just wasn't fast enough here. Here's one more look at the undercarriage of the Natural High machine. Take a look at the shocks. They are really working here, absorbing a pounding. Just a marvel of modern science, the way these monster trucks can handle their business. Really fun to watch. A lot of exciting action yet to come. The final of Straight Line Drags, Virginia Giant Dia Wilson against Dan Patrick and Samson. So the stage is set. The weather has cleared a little bit. The rain has certainly lessened, if not stopped completely. Dan Patrick, the biggest arms in the business on the Samson machine, doing battle with newcomer Dia Wilson. Dia is faster off the line. Let's see if Dan Patrick can make it up. It's going to be close, too close to call by the naked eye. We go to the computerized scoring. 5.938 for Samson. A virtual dead heat, a photo finish. Dia Wilson just barely behind by 17 thousandths of a second. That's why we present Monsters of Destruction on the Outdoor Channel. The closest race you'll ever see. This isn't some wrestling type stage show. This is two guys going mano a mano. They brought everything, and it was one, maybe with the reaction time, Samson able to recover from a slightly slower reaction time. But look at this photo finish. It doesn't get any closer than that. I wouldn't want to be the guy to decide who won that race.
So, Dan, I know that we talked last week in Zanesville. You had kind of the hometown omen. I think you got it all out of your system, though, because you came out here, you put the hammer down. 200ths of a second, 2 seconds, it doesn't matter. Winning is winning, and that's what it comes down to.
Well, it's like Dale said. I didn't know, until we got back here because they had shut the tree off. But after the second set of cars, all I cared about was getting through the lights straight. It was a handful down to the other end. And it's like he said, when you respect the guy you're racing, you know what he'll do and what you do. I mean, if we get crossed up, we're going to let it go because $150,000 trucks, and we've got such a schedule that we got to adhere to. Like we can come back and race again later tonight in the other session. So, the thing is, he and I race a lot together through the winter and also in the summer, and our trucks are we're kind of like teammates. We have the same motor program, and I built his truck, and so I mean it's a handful. And he had lane choice, and he let me over in the right lane, so it worked out for us, and it was good to win here at home.
Well, Dan, congratulations. 5 miles from home. It couldn't get any better than this. Here's your trophy to prove it right here in Chillicothe, Ohio. Great run.
Thanks a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Patrick and Samson, hometown driver, make some noise!
Move on to heat number 3. It's Dan Patrick in the Samson machine going up against Kelvin Raymer. Kelvin always seems to do better in roundy round action. We love him in freestyle. He's provided a lot of highlight moments this year. Looks like Samson had a better start off the line. Look at the distance for Samson on that jump. He reaches the turning pole first. Dan Patrick, speed again, but let's see if the handling of Kelvin Raymer helps him. Looks like Samson made the roller first over the car stack. Samson will win by a comfortable margin here. One turn remaining as Kelvin Raymer seems to be really struggling here. Here comes Patrick to the line. He'll bring it across. An easy win for Dan Patrick by about 7 seconds. Natural High will have to wait for freestyle. He's not going to get it done here tonight. Kelvin Raymer just too slow, but Dan Patrick may be helping him with that because he would have been tough to beat. Look at the extension and the distance on that jump over the first car stack. Smooth through the turns, never really lifts, never hits the brakes, lifts the gas and carries the turn. A lot of air right there as well. Not so much brake, just more lifting of the throttle and back on in the center of the turn. Great technical driving style here from Dan Patrick. You see the reaction time, a blistering 0.17. Dan Patrick is on his game here tonight. Let's go on board. There you see those big arms on the front of that Samson truck. You see what he sees right here. That's really kind of scary. You see the water on the windshield. You don't get that turn made, you're in the seats for sure. You've really got to be on your game here. You see by the bouncing how much punishment these guys take. It's got to be hard on the back to bounce around in the cabs of these trucks. A lot of G-forces here. He's nearly putting a lap on Kelvin Raymer as he pulls within a straightaway. Let's go underneath now, the Natural High. Very interesting camera perspective. You see all those tethers, that is safety related in case parts go flying off of this truck. We want our crowds to be safe and we want to prevent injuries. It's a #1 concern of MOD officials as Kelvin Raymer navigates this course. He's just had a very, very tough opponent in Dan Patrick in the Samson truck. Last turn now, you see he sets it up perfectly, hit the roller square. Not nearly as much distance in the air as Dan Patrick had. Just a lot more speed for Dan. 17. There's Dan Patrick and Samson. He will do battle with Kelvin Raymer in Natural High. I did say earlier that Virginia Giant would be advancing to the finals to face Samson. There is the formality of Samson beating Kelvin Raymer, which I think will happen, but I kind of called that one a little too early. Let's see if Kelvin Raymer has a little bit to say about it. Raymer looking pretty good so far, but Samson blistering through the turn. He is through before Raymer even starts his turn. Look at Dan Patrick. Look at the extension on those jumps. He is flying around this obstacle course here in Chillicothe. Let's see how Raymer addresses the turn. He gets through it okay, but a little slow as Dan Patrick comes to the line, brings it home, almost a full straightaway ahead of Kelvin Raymer, who is still going. A lot of air for him. He should be exciting in semifinal in freestyle action. But Samson does advance as expected. Dan Patrick will go up against Virginia Giant and Deal Wilson. Let's take a look now at Patrick's run, an isolated view. A lot of distance in the air. Goes well beyond the turning pole, kicks it around, lifts on the brake a little bit, and back on the gas now, hits the roller square. Again, great extension over the car stack, full throttle here. On the brakes now, back on the gas at the center of the turn, lines up his jump, and he will bring it home. You won't find a better technical driver, straight line or obstacle course, than Dan Patrick. He really knows his business after 30 years. Him and Bigfoot, they've been around a long time in this sport. He also builds these chassis. Look at the rain there. It's amazing he can do anything. It's really hard to see the bright lights and the wet windshield there. Samson, just all that much more impressive with Dan Patrick given these conditions. Cameraman are standing out there. They're getting wet. Fans are getting wet. Kind of an ugly night here in Ohio, but we are having some fun. Monsters of Destruction Racing, the finals of straight line drags, the finals of obstacle course racing still to come. As you see, it just keeps getting wetter and wetter. The action times very similar here. Kelvin Raymer a little faster off the line, but look at him really slow it up here at the turn. Gets on the gas, but has to get off the gas to line up that roller. That cost him a little bit of time. Not nearly the distance over the car stack that Patrick was getting. Extends beyond the turning pole, really off the gas, no brake at all there. It was just sort of rolling through the turn. Whereas Patrick, look at the distance right there. Then he opened that thing up. Let's take one more look from the undercarriage of the Natural High truck. You can see really no brakes being applied there. He just rolled through the turn nice and easy. Gotta go at it a little more aggressively than that as Patrick was driving deep into the turns, hitting the brake, power sliding through those turns. There you see him line up the roller into the car stack now, and about 4 seconds behind, handing the victory to Dan Patrick and Samson. We'll be back with the obstacle. It's time for the obstacle course final here in round 17 from Chillicothe, Ohio. There's Dan Patrick, the number 50 Samson machine. The rain is falling as Deal Wilson and the Virginia Giant will take him on. Let's see what kind of traction they have. These two trucks race to a photo finish in straight line drag. Should be exciting here. Pretty even start for both trucks. Little bit of a bobble on the part of Samson, drifted to the right side of his lane. Virginia Giant on the brakes hard, having trouble lining up that roller. Samson gaining the advantage here, but wait. This race isn't over yet. Here comes Virginia Giant. Looks like Samson is going to take it, but it's still pretty close. He gets around the last turning pole well. Up and over the car stack he comes. He's headed for the finish. All right, he's done. That race was closer than it might appear. 28.073. Samson takes it in the final. I thought Samson had a much bigger lead, but Deal Wilson closed the gap there at the end, came within 0.6 of a second. But Samson, your winner again here tonight in obstacle course racing. Continues to get that great extension over the car stack. Nice through the turn. Sets up the roller well, on the gas hard here. Off camber on the landing. That wasn't his best approach at a car stack, but still recovers. Power slides through the turn, sets up the roller perfectly. On the gas, drifting to the right side of his lane. Almost had a timing light issue, almost took out our equipment there, but he brings it home 0.6 of a second faster than Deal Wilson. Look at that reaction time for the Virginia Giant. 0.09. It does not get any faster than that. He knew he would have to get on the line quick to beat Dan Patrick, and he did. But Samson just too strong. Deal Wilson's weaknesses appear to be in the turns, on the brakes. If he could find a way to power slide through these turns and not brake so hard to set up that roller, he could have won this. There was a real smooth turn. It was the first one he struggled with. Look at the air over the car stack right there. Pretty good run for the Virginia Giant, and he posted a time that usually would win, but he just came up against a little bit tougher opponent tonight in Dan.
So, Dan, same kind of thing, man. We're back in the same situation. You're back up on top. How does it feel to be riding the wave of victory here in front of the hometown?
Well, it's great. You know, we struggled here about 6 weeks ago, so we're kind of making up for it. You know, maybe the Omen might come and get us tomorrow night. Tonight it's off our back, and we're happy for it. Kind of reminds me we were out South Dakota about 6 weeks ago. You know, we had a great weekend out there, and you know, we appreciate everybody coming out here. It's terrible weather today. You know, it's typical Ohio weather on a Friday. You know. So, but I appreciate everybody coming and standing out, and tomorrow, you know, the next round, you know, we'll have great weather and have better racing.
All right, Dan. Well, congratulations. Great to see Samson back on top again.
Thanks a lot.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hometown boy Dan Patrick and Samson.
Of Destruction on the Outdoor Channel. Here comes Samson for freestyle. He is a winner of both divisions of racing here tonight, straight line and obstacle. He's got a lot of power under that hood. The rain continues to fall. It's a very ugly and cold night here in Ohio, but the fans being treated to some exciting racing by Dan Patrick, who won by a photo finish in straight line drags, a little bit more convincingly in obstacle course. There he gets some air. A lot of smoke flying from the exhaust of that truck. Approaching the next jump. A lot of distance. Really see the differential, the effects of the differential when those rear wheels are off the ground. They spin in opposite directions. Let's see what he's going to do here. A lot of air. Tough course here, especially with the rain. It's really started to fall. It's muddy. It's getting sloppy. But Virginia Giant showed that donuts are pretty easy to do. Samson's got a lot of power. He could really get a tight one going here if he wants to. Look at him opening up. 40, 50 miles an hour right there. Flew 30 feet past the jump. A lot of distance. Slams on the brakes. Let's see if he can gather it back up and try something else here.
As he turns back around inside of the lights.
What's he setting up? Not a whole lot of things to hit here. A couple of car stacks. That's it. Back end really sliding. He's got the opportunity for some donuts if he wants them. Looks like he's just going to finish it up. He's getting wet. He's done. He's headed for the barn. Waves to the crowd. He is finished. Let's take another look at one of his better moves. A lot of distance on that jump right there. Really lines this one up. You would expect him to get higher, but it doesn't look like the officials came out and really gave him a lot of help with cutting the ramp at the car stack here before freestyle. So did the best he could with the course they gave him. A lot of distance. More freestyle coming at you after these words. Monsters of Destruction on the